All to the Japan Foundation Los Angeles. As some of you may already know, the Japan Foundation is a cultural exchange institution that promotes international awareness and mutual understanding between Japan and overseas countries. In our case, it's the United States. This month marks the 2-year anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami. And we want to take this opportunity to remember the disaster with a special screening of Japan After 3/11, Multicultural Communities, produced by the Japan Foundation. In addition to the main feature documentary, Live Your Life, Live Your Dream, the Taylor Anderson story. Taylor Anderson and Montgomery Dixon were 2 American participants in the JET program, who sadly lost their lives during the disaster. Because of this, we have collaborated with the JET Alumni Association of Southern California to organize this event, and I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude for all they have done. Live Your Dream, the Taylor Anderson story, was directed by Reggie Light, an award-winning producer and ethnographic documentaries on Asia, West Africa, and the Caribbean. He is the recipient of 4 signed Golden Eagle Awards, and his work was honored by the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. In creating this documentary, he interviewed people who were connected to Taylor and recounted how she lived her life to the fullest up until that tragic day. Now I hope you will enjoy the 15-minute video, Japan After 3/11, Multicultural Communities. Documentary. Today we have many special guests here today, and I would first like to introduce Aaron Toshima, co-president of the JET Alumni Association of Southern California and Arizona.
My name is Aaron Toyoshima, and as Thomas mentioned, I'm the co-president of the JET Alumni Association of Southern California and Arizona, also known as JET AASC. I know many people in this room are former JET participants, but for those of you who are not familiar with JET, I'd just like to share a little bit about the program and what it means to those of us who participate. The JET program, or the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, is one of the world's largest and most prestigious international exchange programs, with over 55,000 participants from 62 countries in its 26-year history. It is a Japanese government initiative that brings college graduates, mostly native speakers of English, to Japan as assistant language teachers in Japanese kindergartens, elementary, junior high, and high schools, and also as coordinators for international relations in local governments and boards of education. JET program participants are known as JETs. In addition to their jobs as teachers and public servants, JETs also serve as cultural ambassadors within their communities, participating in local cultural events and promoting international exchange at a grassroots level. When JETs complete their tenure on the program and return to their home countries, there are JET alumni associations established all over the world to ease their transitions back. JET AASC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization comprised of former JET participants living in the SoCal area. We are one of the largest and most active JET alumni chapters in the country. Our mission is to promote mutual understanding and international exchange between Japan and the US, and we do so through hosting a variety of cultural and professional events throughout the year. Of equal importance, however, JET AASC also exists to foster a community of people who have shared in the same life-changing experience working and living in Japan as JETs. I was a JET from 2006 to 2008 in Shiga Prefecture, which is in the Kansai region of Japan. My town, Taga, had about 8,000 residents and was tucked in the mountains of Shiga. It was very rural, and I literally lived in the middle of a rice paddy. So when I first got to Taga and I saw this rice paddy, I thought, what have I gotten myself into? But living in rural Japan was actually a great blessing. Outside of my school, it seemed like I became friends with the town itself, from the people working at the mochi store or the Circle K or even the train conductors. And even though I ended JET about 5 years ago, I still keep in touch with several of my students and people in the town. So if I were to summarize my JET experience at its most basic level, I would say that JET was about the little interactions that I made every day and developing those personal relationships. So when a JET meets another JET, no matter where they are in the world, there is an instant connection over our shared experience, and that bind is the foundation of our community. And although not all of us were privileged to know Monty Dixon and Taylor Anderson, we can certainly understand their hearts for Japan and their love for their students. In closing, we are very honored and humbled to be a part of the Live Your Dream screening today, and we'd like to thank JFLA for co-hosting this event with us and all of you for your support of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Next, I would like to invite Bob Nguyen, who is a close friend of Taylor Anderson, for his small speech. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the LA screening of the documentary Live Your Dream, the Taylor Anderson story. My name is Bob Nguyen, and I would like to start off with a few very important thank yous. First, thank you all for being here today. Let's also thank the director, Reggie Life, for all of his hard work, dedication, and patience in making this documentary. He couldn't be here today because he's busy screening the documentary in Japan and other parts of the country. A warm thanks goes out to all the Kickstarter backers whose commitment and contributions have made this project possible. To the family and friends of Taylor and thank you to Monty Dixon's family for their strength and support. Through their efforts, we will never forget Monty's contributions or the victims of the March 11th disaster. To the family and friends of Taylor Anderson, who every day continue Taylor's dreams to promote cultural understanding and education. And finally, to our gracious host, the Japan Foundation, for providing this beautiful auditorium for today's screening and their wonderful help promoting all of Taylor's dreams, including the JET Memorial Invitation Program that I had the honor of co-presenting with Canon Purdy, Taylor's friend. I lived in Miyagi in a small town, Wakuya, from 2007 to 2011. After the earthquake, I volunteered in Ishinomaki, driving around and cleaning debris from houses. I don't often speak about my experiences. I've kept those memories bottled up inside me for too long. And now, thanks to the support of my friends and family, and a promise I made to Taylor and the victims of the March 11th disaster, I feel like I'm finally ready to speak about my experiences. I met Taylor in 2008 when she joined the JET program. I often visited Ishinomaki, socializing and enjoying the company of other JET members. It was a city I came to call my second home, and the time I spent there, I got to know Taylor very well. I got to know her fun side, the bright-eyed charm and innocence of a recent college grad, exploring a new country. I got to know her more reserved side as well, the Taylor that found peace and solace with her books and her imagination. On March 11th, 2011, 5 months before Taylor and most of us were supposed to return home after our JET contracts ended, I was sitting in the auditorium at my school. I was a ball of emotions. My students were graduating from both of my junior high schools on that day. A graduating class that I had seen as they entered the school doors in their uniforms for the first time, and who were finally stepping into the real world. I felt the joys and sorrows of being a teacher. After the last congratulations, omeritos, see you soons, and the last fake shutter sounds that ceased coming from the cell phones, I was back in the teacher's break room, singing along while the history teacher practiced In My Life by the Beatles. And then the earthquake hit, and the tsunami came an hour later. My words can't describe in detail what you've already seen on the news and on the internet. The words and emotions are still too raw and poignant for me to express, so I'll quote someone who knows what they're talking about. Everything was too sharp and clear so that I could never tell where to start. The way a map that shows too much can sometimes be useless. Now, though, I realize that all I can place in the imperfect vessel of writing are imperfect memories and imperfect thoughts. From Haruki Murakami's Norwegian Wood. The best I can do is show you some photos from that day. I went to Ishinomaki early in the morning after the earthquake. I couldn't comprehend what I saw up there. Roads that I had driven down days before were rivers. Restaurants I had eaten in were now submerged, and my friends were out there somewhere in the confusion. Most of them returned to the jet apartments. Others we found at the schools turned shelters. Still others made plans to escape the looming mist of fear spreading throughout Japan. Except we never heard from Taylor. Her school said that she had left shortly after all the students were evacuated from the elementary school she was visiting. We held out hope, but things don't always turn out the way our imaginations want them to. She wasn't discovered with amnesia days later in the care of an elderly couple. She wasn't rescued off a piece of debris and airlifted to Tokyo for medical assistance. And she didn't just pop up in her room, big smile on her face, telling us what a crazy time she had. But she did continue to bring a smile to our faces. She did continue to inspire us to live our lives by our own rules. And to this day, she keeps us all, her friends and family, connected to each other through our shared experiences and our mutual goals of keeping her memory and her dreams alive. The Taylor Anderson Memorial Gift Fund was created in conjunction with St. Catherine's School to keep Taylor's dream alive. It has raised over $350,000 in awareness about the victims of the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. The fund has created Taylor Anderson reading corners at 7 of the schools she taught at during her time in the JET program. It is working with Smile and Dreams, Tohoku Kids Project, to provide long-term assistance to orphans in Kisanuma. The Taylor Scholarship will give financial aid to Ishinomaki High School students attending Sendai YMCA College starting this April. The fund has also created the JET Micro Grants to assist programs initiated by Miyagi and Sendai JET participants. The Taylor Fund, spearheaded by the hard work of Taylor's parents, Andy and Jean, has been working tirelessly to continue to help the people of Tohoku affected by the earthquake and tsunami. I met Jean and Andy last February at the wedding of Aaron and Mommy Gerard, mutual friends from Ishinomaki. I was struck by the fact that all of us who left Miyagi after our contracts ended were in attendance. And I was struck by the warmth and the joy that Andy and Jean radiated as they talked, laughed, and danced the night away. I cried thinking about their loss, but in their presence, I felt a strength and a love that couldn't be diminished. And I knew that Taylor must have had an amazing time growing up under their roof. Not everyone reacts to tragedy the same way. There's a lot of media attention to the topic, so I won't bore you with too much detail. When people find out that I was in Japan during the earthquake, a topic that usually comes out of my mouth casually, like, oh yeah, I was at that restaurant last night, people assume that there must be something wrong because my tone doesn't match their expectations. Or they'll avoid the subject after that, like they can't bear to hear the details. But it's not the face that you show to the world, or the private thoughts you deal with in solitude. It's the way you choose to live your life after. It's the determination you apply to achieving a better life for yourself and others affected by the disaster. And for Taylor, in life and death, through her memory and spirit, and our efforts and vigilance, we're all doing our parts to heal each other's fissures and the fractures left behind by that day. The documentary we will be watching is a story of a young lady with a spirit that could fill this room with her energy. It's the story of someone whose narrative was cut short by the events of 2 years prior, but whose memory still lives on in all of us. Reggie was inspired to make this documentary because he saw in Taylor a valiant individual. He made this film not about a tragedy, but about a beautiful spirit. He saw Taylor's story not as an end, but a beginning, the beginning of her spirit reaching out to many lives. I hope you are inspired by this documentary and continue to live your own dreams. Thank you very much.
Next, I want to invite Shelley Fredrickson, sister of Montgomery Dixon, for a short speech.
I always have so much to say about Monty. You guys might have to cut my mic because I tend to go on and on. It's not widely known, or at least it wasn't widely known, that there were 2 Americans that were lost in Japan during the tsunami. With the media and the ever-changing events of the world, and Libya happened before Monty was found, and it took 3 weeks before he was found. Going there to Japan and seeing the devastation completely around you is very different than seeing it on a screen, no matter how big your screen may be. It's around you 360 degrees as far as the eye can see, and you don't recover from something like that very quickly. I will never look at a 3-story building the same again, because that was the level of the water in Monty's town. It was over the roof of his office building. Since it's not widely known that there were 2 Americans, I mostly want to talk about Monty and his accomplishments, his life as a jet, his life in Japan, the inspiration that he had there. First, he started out learning Japanese in high school, and he was an excellent student. He graduated summa cum laude and went to the University of Southern California here for his freshman year, and he was in the marching band playing trumpet. And he was always on the Jumbotron and meeting lots of people. But he had a hard time there academically, his first time away from home. So he came back for his sophomore year at the University of Alaska Anchorage, and he felt like he had failed. Until he got into the class of Harada Sensei. She was the Japanese professor and his academic advisor. And her classes were really tough. And all the students thought her classes were too tough, so he went to her one day to complain. And she sat him down and told him, "You can be a great Japanologist. You can be a bridge between our countries." And it was because of Harada Sensei that Monty looked at his Japanese studies completely different. And he had asked her to come to graduation because he didn't feel like he would really graduate if she wasn't there. And she instantly became a member of our family. But it's because of Harada Sensei that Monty became so proficient in Japanese and had a new look on what he wanted to accomplish. He spent a summer with a family, and then he attended University of Nagoya and the University in Hokkaido for 2 years and took all his classes in Japanese. He loved everything about Japan, the culture, the history, the geography. He traveled every chance he could around the country. It seems like a long time ago. He did as much as he could to teach the English language. And he did a short video for Japan Foundation on teaching a couple words in Japanese, and it's kind of funny. Sorry, I thought it was next. Okay, here's him in the school with his students. He was kind of a minor celebrity in town because, you know, you got this tall foreigner that speaks proficient Japanese, and everybody was questioning as to why he was there. And he traveled around to 16 different schools that he taught at. And he got to know his way around so much that he gave directions to the locals. And he was well known for, he was always dressed well, and he volunteered with the fire department. They wanted him to, or I'm sorry, he ran marathons with the fire department. They wanted him to be a volunteer and work with them, and he thought that that would put people in danger, and he didn't want to do that. He joined the tennis club. He sang enka songs, which is very hard in Japanese. He did manzai, which are comedy skits, which is unusual for a foreigner to be able to perform a Japanese comedy skit. He always ate lunch with the kids. Most of the times he would call me at 1 o'clock in the morning because he'd forget the time zone difference. I mean, 17 hours. And he would always tell me, I can't call you during my breaks because the kids want me to play with them during my breaks. And he always would oblige. He would MC the Christmas parties. I heard a story just recently that he was dancing on the bar. He got one of his Japanese coworkers to dance on the bar. I'm always hearing new things that he encouraged the other colleagues to do. He taught a pedagogy course. He worked hard to, he initiated English language classes during the summer months when most of the other teachers took time off. He would trade English lessons for swimming lessons. He also took the interpretation and translation test, which is very hard, and he passed it. He would teach English to anybody that wanted to learn, whether it was an elderly gentleman or children. And he loved everything about Japan. He said it was the happiest time of his life. Those are sake barrels. He became friends with the local bike shop owner. And he was an elderly man, and the two of them would do bike races. And they did this 130-mile race around this island, and I love that he became a cyclist. He was riding his bike everywhere. Even we live in Alaska, and he commuted all winter long on his bike. And here he's picking up trash with the locals, volunteering. He was always up and ready to do anything, like the manzai skit. His friend didn't want to do it. They found out there were 300 people in the audience, and his friend was like, oh, we can't do it. He goes, come on, we have to. He was always up for anything and always very positive and encouraging. And he has lots of certificates of achievement. And always well dressed. Here's emceeing the Christmas party there. And this is one of his jet coworkers. She actually was our interpreter when we went to Japan to bring him home. And this is his girlfriend. They met at the University of Alaska. She was a tutor at UAA. She was studying there, and they met there, and they were just friends. And then when he went to Japan, they met up again and started dating. She's wonderful. We're still in contact with her. I think he looks like a Frenchman there. Okay, it should be there we go. This is a video he did for Japan Foundation. I think it's looking. One more time. No, it must have been loading. He was always doing impressions on things. And we'll go back. Good.
本郷教育シリーズ第32話お土産を買いましょういよいよ東京駅に着いたね綺麗でしたねこの2週間日本の旅行楽しかったですか？はい、とても楽しかったです。よかったですね。アメリカの家族と友達に日本のお土産を持って帰りますか？持って帰りますよ。でもどんなお土産がいいですか？そうですね。じゃあ探しましょうか。よろしくお願いします。有名なお土産です。東京バナナです。ああ、そうですか。東京バナナ、どう思いますか？美味しそうですね。でも、もうちょっと探してもいいですか？じゃあ、行きましょう。そうですよね。これはどう？ちょっと重そうですよね。これはどう思いますか？つまらなそうですよね。やっぱり東京バナナ一番いいですよね。やあ、皆さん、元気ですか？元気そうですね。この前のですよ、勉強になりましたか？何々そうということは日常生活でよく使えますよね。今日あなたは友達と一緒にいるとき何々そうを使ってみませんか？絶対楽しそうでしょう。
Sound was a little off. Thank you to the Japan Foundation for that, because the work that he did, I forever have him speaking Japanese, which I only heard from, he would call me and be walking to school, and everybody he passed would greet him, and he would have to greet them in Japanese, and I felt like I was getting a tour of his town and meeting his friends, and like, wow, I get to hear you speak, you're Japanese, and now I actually have a recording of him doing so, thanks to the Japan Foundation for that. And he was so proficient in the language, people forgot that he could speak English until he was on the phone with me, and he'd hang out, Ben, his friend, was like, oh, I forgot he could speak English. But he was always doing impersonations of billboards, statues, anything. It was his sense of humor, and these pictures will show you what it was like just to hang out with Monty, because he was always up for anything and always having a good time, and that's what people remember him for. And he was bald, so happy hair, like, you know, he always shaved his head. Like some Halloween party, I don't know. One of the things he said was that he always learned from his students just as much as he felt that he taught them. We are grateful to the people of Rikers and Takeda, because they not only welcomed Monty as a person and a teacher, they welcomed him as a friend and a member of their families. And to go there and see such a devastation and have people come to us with gifts for us. They had their stories that they shared, their tears for him, their time. They welcomed him into their homes and their families, and he had a second home there. And that gives me a great deal of peace. So it meant a lot to meet these people and know that he made such a difference in their lives. I'm grateful to Harada Sensei for putting him on the path that changed his life and gave him the best part of his life, that he was happiest. I'm thankful for the JET program, for Japan Foundation, for their donation to the University of Alaska Anchorage. We have started the Montgomery-Dixon I started the Montgomery-Dixon Cultural Fund, and Japan Foundation started the Montgomery-Dixon Japanese Language and Cultural Center at the University of Alaska Anchorage. We wanted a place, since we have a large Japanese community there, we wanted a place that we could hold tea ceremonies and lectures and ikebana and anything in one building. We're also supporting, Rikers and Takeda is having a summer festival this summer to get the community out, socializing, and to let them know that they haven't been forgotten. And after being there and having them give so much to us, their time, we couldn't just leave. It was such a huge impression on us, and that the people are what I think the greatest resource. So we'll be supporting the summer festival and taking another trip back. And I'm very happy to have met the Andersons. Not really the way we met them, but we talked about it a couple times, that Taylor and Monty are very similar in their style and the way they live their life, and they're probably, singing karaoke somewhere together, and now that we have the Andersons in our life. We have to make something positive with such devastation. And we hope that Rikas and Takeda will build to be a better city than they were, a smart city. I thank the Japan Foundation for showing this movie. And I hope everybody is inspired to live their dream. You can still reinvent yourself. You can still move forward in a positive way. Thank you.